recognize this image. It's from the 1982 film Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, which is one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. What an amazing vision of the future is created in that film. But does anyone know when that film was actually set? I'm hoping a few people have watched it. Pretty popular movie. Does anyone know when Blade Runner, one of the most famous futuristic movies, was set? I'll give you a second to put some in. Well, it's actually in the past, right? Like the movie was set in the past, November the 1st, 2019. So there's there's Blade Runner Day, it's already happened a couple of years ago. Why am I talking about Blade Runner in an email marketing webinar? Well, what it shows is that we're really bad at predicting the future. Humans are terrible at predicting the future, but it doesn't really matter when it comes to marketing. I often get been asked, what's the next thing in marketing? It doesn't matter. There's a quote I saw a few weeks ago from Jeff Bezos, which is, you don't actually need to know what is going to change in the future in the next 10 years. What you just need to know is what is not going to change. So he talked about, people aren't going to want more expensive books, or they don't want the deliveries to go any slower. They want that stuff to be cheaper, faster. We know these things. So in 2032, will the metaverse have taken off? Will Facebook even exist? Who knows? We don't need to know what will change. We just need to know what won't. And I'm confident that email will still be about. Lots of reasons why, but I think some of the big ones, well, it's got universal adoption. Most people who are online have an email address, and any business owner you want to work with would have an email address. It's easy to use for the sender and the recipient, and it's free or low cost. Email is like the glue of the internet, so I'm pretty confident it's going to be around. So it's a great thing to focus your marketing around. Now, quick question before I tell you a little bit about myself. Do you know when the first marketing email was sent? Type in a year when the first marketing email was sent. I'm interested to know what people think. Now, I've asked a few people this before I did this session, and they all got it way off. So we'll come back to that one in a minute. Just fire that into the chat. Now, I founded Bizink just about a decade ago, and I've been working with exclusively accountants and bookkeepers since then. Worked with well over 1,500 firms from across the world, probably a lot more if I actually tried to tot it up. And what we do, we just take care of the marketing for busy accountants like you, so you can look after your clients. Some interesting guesses coming in. We've got, what have we got here? 88, 80, 97. I'd have said it was about 97 if before I knew the answer. And Brian got it right, 1978, right? So the first marketing email ever sent, it's a guy called Gary Thurk, and he's got an unusual name, Gary Thurk of Digital Equipment Corporation, right? And he sent an email blast to 400 people, and it made $13 million in 1978. It's pretty amazing. If you adjust that for inflation, that's about 78 million US. So pretty successful. And quite a few people consider that also the first spam message too, because people didn't have permission to be sent to. So you might not believe this looking at my youthful picture, but I was actually born in 1978. Who would believe that? So I'm as old as email marketing, or email marketing is as old as me. I've been doing email marketing since 2000, so a long time as well. And it's the only tactic that has consistently delivered for my business and for my clients. Anthony alluded to some of the other marketing campaigns I've done. I'm thinking about that. We were promoting a Paul McCartney concert. Email was the main tactic we used to do that. So I'll often say, if you want to make money online, you need to use email. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? This is the Leads to Loyalty framework that we've kind of created from over a decade of working with accountants, and it's looking at that entire marketing journey. I know we has all of this stuff sorted, but it's really important to start chipping these pieces off, because it is a journey, right? Like it's not like people are just going to come to your website and buy from you. There's lots of phases that has to go through. And we're talking about specifically in this session, that engagement phase. while we're specifically talking about that, I actually think that an email works really well across the conversion and retention phases. So I'm going to talk a little bit to those as well. Clearly you can't attract people with email because you have to have their email address already. But it works fantastically well in those other phases. And once you have someone's email address, you can nurture leads who aren't quite ready to engage with you. You can convert them into paying clients by sending them offers at the right time. And for clients, email is such an awesome tool where you can add value by sending them useful content and upsell other things to them, other products and services. So not bad for a marketing tactic, which every year you get a bunch of people lining up to say, email's done, it's old, it's dead. It's been going since 1978 and it's still going strong. So what I'm going to do in this session, I'm going to give you the who, what, when, and why of email marketing. I'm going to show you those 3 types of emails that every firm should send. And I'm actually going to give you some real examples. I know you want practical stuff over theory, so I'm actually going to give you some email templates that you can take and start using them this week. Cool. Okay, so interested to know who is actually using email marketing already. So I'm just going to run a quick poll. And if you can just let me know if you're using email marketing, using it weekly, using it monthly, maybe a few times a year or never. So I'll put that option in there as well, because I know quite a lot of firms aren't using email marketing. So I'll give you a few minutes to just complete that survey. All right, cool. Let's share the results on that. So 46% of people are not using email. So hopefully I can convince you that not only that you should be, but I'm also going to give you some tools and templates that you can get going with that really quickly. Because one of the things I love about email, it's a real easy lift tactic, and it's really inexpensive, if not free. Cool. All right. So why should you use email? The main reason for me is like every business owner has an email address, right? And most check their inbox several times a day. Not only that, you think of other things like social media, there's algorithms which mean your post might not ever get seen. Your content's filtered away, so people might not see it. Whereas with email, you've got this direct line to your clients and your prospects where, okay, they're not all going to open your email, but theoretically, you've got this on an uninterrupted kind of channel to talk to them through. And the fact that I know is that people open emails from accountants. We send millions of emails every year for accountants through the Bizink platform, and the open rates and the click rates are consistently high. Now, I'm not saying that to say anything about Bizink. It's because I think people just open emails from their accountant. The open rate is the average open rate for emails through our platform. It's about 38%, and the click rate's about 5%. Which, if you compare that to MailChimp's benchmarks, we'll post those in the chat. You will see that is pretty high compared to their other categories that are in there. So take a look at those and you'll see that it's pretty high, and I think it's quite a compelling reason why you should be using email. Some other reasons, look, it's cheap or even free. Platform like MailChimp, they've got a free plan. It's the most popular email software in the world, I would say. Even if you pay, you're talking like 20, 50, maybe $100 a month if you've got a lot of subscribers. So it's an inexpensive marketing tactic. It's easy as well if you compare it to. So I don't like to say things are easy because everything has a challenge with it. But compared to something like search engine optimization, which is a highly technical, highly involved type of marketing, email can be relatively easy, to put an email blast together, especially if I'm going to give you some templates for that stuff. It's relatively easy. A couple of other things I like, it's scalable, right? So sending one email to 100 people is the same as sending it to 10,000 people to 100,000. You write the email and send it to your list. So it's really scalable. and it's really repeatable as well. You can send the same emails year after year. That's what we do at Bizink. We have some really high performing emails that we send, and we just repeat them. You might tweak them a little bit from time to time, but you can repeat a lot of your stuff. So who should you send to, right? We've got to think about that. And I would broadly split between two lists. You should have a list of clients, which you'll have that. And you should have a list of prospects. And that's the one that I think a lot of accountants and bookkeepers don't have, is a list of prospects. Now, if you don't, I'm going to paste the link in the chat here, which is an article on building a database of marketing leads. So that will help give you some tips there on how to start building that prospect list. And, it will take time, but I'll keep coming back to quality over quantity. You don't need a huge list to get pretty good results. Now, let's say you've got your clients and your prospects list. I'd be recommending that you segment those lists further. So for example, with clients, segmenting, say, tax clients or advisory clients, I don't know how your clients break down. You might do it like that. For prospects, you might segment by industry. So, you might be targeting dentists and doctors and have two different lists, because what you're going to say to those people is going to be different. And, it's a general rule of email marketing in general, really, is the more targeted you are, the more effective your stuff is going to be, which is kind of obvious. Another way to think about that with email marketing would be an average email, you're making a sales offer or whatever. It's not that well written, not that creative, but you're sending it to a highly targeted list. That's going to work way better than like an awesome written email that's like a really untargeted list. So like the list, think of that as more important than the actual email that you end up sending. A couple more things on who you should send to. Permission is really important, and it's becoming more important. So it's vital to get people's permission before you start sending them emails. And in certain geographies, that's really, really important. So I'm thinking Canada, I'm thinking the EU. They have very strict spam laws, which you don't want to fall foul of, and ways you can be compliant there. So maybe double opt-in. And what that means is, when you sign up, when you have clients sign up, they don't only tick a box or whatever they've signed up, it sends them an email and they have to click on that to say, yep, keep sending me emails. And then you've got that audit trail of permission. And so further to that, don't buy lists. I get asked that, should we buy a list? Don't buy lists. That could get you in trouble. And even if it doesn't, they're not very good quality. You go back to the targeting thing. It's not going to be very targeted. And yeah, you're just looking for quality over quantity. It might take you a little while to build up a list of prospects, but that's okay. You're probably not looking for lots and lots of new clients every month, just a few of the right clients. So you don't need a huge list to achieve that. Final thing about who to send to, I just talk about engagement. You've got your list, it's tempting to just wanting to keep growing that list. And, people will obviously be able to unsubscribe from that. All good softwares will do that. And we'll talk about those in just a second. But you should be actively removing people who don't engage with your emails, who don't open them. So we use HubSpot for our own email marketing, and we have it. You can tick a box in there. And I think it's if people haven't opened your last 11 emails, you just remove them. So they stay on your lists, and you can maybe run a re-engagement campaign to them, which is a separate thing. But basically filter them off, because if they're not opening, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to buy from you, not engaging with you. And the net effect of not doing that is that some ESPs, email service providers, the likes of Google or Microsoft or whatever, if they see you sending a lot of emails that don't get engagement, they can flag that, and that can hurt your reputation. So it pays to have an engaged list, even if that means having a smaller list. Okay, so in terms of how to send emails, We've surveyed hundreds of firms about this in the past, and probably only about half have email software. And what I mean by that is not, not Outlook, not Gmail. They're not email marketing apps. They're just for your one-to-one business email. You need a proper bulk emailing app. So like a MailChimp or a Campaign Monitor or an industry-specific tool like we created, Bizink. And apps offer like a load of benefits for doing email marketing properly. You're going to get a proper editor in there, templating options, so everything looks nice in terms of your brand. You can do your list management like I've talked about, so your client list, your prospect list, segment that up. Some use tags, some use different lists. Email automation, which is going to be a topic I'm going to talk on in a little bit. And I'll also give you proper reporting as well. So who opened, who clicked, who unsubscribed, all of that stuff that you need to know as you're getting into email marketing. And what emails should you send? Well, I'm going to go into these in depth. There's 3 types that I think you need to send. One is email newsletters, one is email blasts, and email automations. And for this engagement stage that we're talking about in this session, newsletters and automated emails are the most important. So they're the ones that are going to, another way to talk about this stage is like the middle of the funnel. So people have come into the top of your funnel, whether they've come to an event or a webinar, they download your ebook, something like that. And the bottom of the funnel is where you're converting people into sales leads. And it's this middle bit where I see a lot of firms go wrong, is that they think they need more leads, but they actually need to do more with the leads that they've got. So newsletters are great for that, keeping top of mind, showing people you're an expert, automated emails as well. But there is a place for email blasts at this stage as well. And by that, I mean like your one-off emails, usually sales and promotional emails, but can be other things too. And I think they have a place in this mix as well. So let's take a look at all of those in detail. Just before I do that, actually, a question I often get asked is when you should send emails. And, it's funny, I've just been doing a session in the boot camp about social media, and this stuff lines up quite closely with that, because we're talking business to business here. Probably Tuesday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is going to be somewhere in there is going to be the best time for most people to send email. Now, it could be different. Rachel, who was on the last session, has got a firm that sells to real estate agents, and they're often catching up with this kind of stuff, their emails outside of normal business hours, because they're doing viewings and that kind of thing in the day. So know your industry that you're trying to sell to, but generally Tuesday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., that's your kind of sweet spot. And whenever you choose to send your emails, just try and stick to that. Familiarity is important. There's been quite a bit of research done on the best times to send, and you can find evidence in any way you like, but I think sticking to the same time, particularly for newsletters, is really effective. So Diane's just posted some more stats about email marketing. Campaign Monitor do some really interesting email benchmarks, so you can get more data-driven approach in there. All right, so another quick poll. Does your firm send an email newsletter? Pretty old, time-worn tactic. So interested to know if you're sending an email newsletter. This could be clients, could be to prospects, just like a regular email that gets sent out. I'll give you a few more seconds to fill that out. All right, cool. So sharing those results there. 43% are, 57% aren't. So I actually thought more people would be sending one than that. I would recommend you do. Obviously, that's what we're talking about here. It's a really old tactic that I think is still really effective if you do it right. Why? Well, I can't think of many better ways to get engaging content in front of your leads, your prospects, and your clients, because like we said at the start, they've all got an email address, right? And if they've given you permission to send to them, sending them something like monthly or maybe more frequently than that, depending on depending on the kind of relationship you've got with them. I think it's an awesome thing to do. And, maybe not so much for clients, but for leads and prospects, the idea really is that you've got to be top of mind when they're ready to engage you, because you all know it's not fast selling to business owners, not fast selling bookkeeping, accounting to business owners. It takes time, and there's a lot of kind of stages to that. So just getting people onto a newsletter list where you can send them useful stuff. Let's say it's every month. Great way to be top of mind when they're, something changes in their business or the relationship with their existing firm, or maybe they're doing it themselves and they grow to a certain point. Who's going to be top of mind? Well, if you're sending them cool stuff every month, I think it's a good chance it's going to be you. And the other reason I think sending a newsletter, it's just a really, I don't like always saying things are easy, because maybe not so easy. I'm a marketer, so it kind of comes easy to me, but compared to a lot of other things, it's pretty easy and it's definitely inexpensive. The 3 ways you could do a newsletter that I would recommend: custom, curated, and a blend of both. So a custom one would be you're writing it yourself, or it's completely custom content. So perhaps you're getting a professional writer to do it for you, but you're coming up with those ideas and writing something completely custom. And that could be, could be on a range of topics you did that on, or maybe you focus on one topic. And that's almost like the traditional newsletter, sent out by mail format, is to write on one topic per edition. And done really well, that kind of custom newsletter can really stand out, can be really powerful. Obviously, the payoff is you've got to either invest a load of time into that or a load of cash if you want to hire a writer to do that. A much cheaper and faster option could be to curate a newsletter. So taking other content that either you've written yourself or you're getting from other articles on the internet, and pulling that together into a newsletter and sending that out. Really good way to get interesting stuff in front of your audience. And if you're being useful, I don't think people mind that you didn't write it, that someone else did. You're still getting that top of mind thing happening. And what we see a lot of firms do at Bizink is kind of like a blend of both. So they curate some content, they pull together some stuff that we create for them, or stuff on the internet, and maybe put a bit of a unique spin on it, their own stuff that's either very local or very timely, and add that in. So kind of 3 different ways to get a newsletter going, but I would definitely recommend you do it. Probably a monthly newsletter is like the classic way to do it, and that can work really well. So next, let's have a look at automated emails. And email automation has a bunch of different names. You might hear it called drip marketing. You might hear people talking about autoresponders, funnel marketing. Funnels is like a kind of a bit of a buzzword at the moment. The principle of it is really simple, right? It's about sending a series of emails based on an action somebody has taken. So classic way would just be someone's downloaded something from your site. It's like an ebook or something like that, and a series of emails goes out related to that thing. Perhaps it's like an online course, something like that. And we're talking about the engagement stage of marketing your firm. Email automation works really good, because annoying thing about B2B marketing is that people buy when they're ready, not when you are. People don't wake up in the morning and impulse buy some accounting. It's not how it works, that. And so sometimes it's taking leads months or years before they convert to clients. So email automation is really good, because you can take people who are a bit interested but not quite ready to engage you, and you can nurture them and make them more likely to become clients. So example on screen is like a follow-up email that we would send, this was for one of our clients, following up an email, an ebook download from their site. And normally I'll have a sequence of maybe 3-5 emails, something like that. that you're going to send following up like an action that's happened. And all good email apps are going to support automation. You know, all the ones we've talked about, they all support automation. It's a pretty standard feature these days. And what we're trying to do here is obviously nurture leads, add more value than that initial interaction that they've had with you. So like I said, it might be 3 to 5 emails. If it all goes great, you know, maybe after email 2, they get in touch, maybe it's email 5. It's not going to work like that for the vast majority of people, which doesn't mean they're not interested. It's just that they're not ready right now. Really important to remember that you know, people might be interested in you for lots of reasons, but it's just not the right timing. So what you do then is you add the people who've come through your automation to your newsletter list. So go back to what I just talked about. You get your newsletter happening for prospects, and then you're getting that nurturing happening. Okay, only maybe once a month, but that still keeps you top of mind. So that's kind of like a form of automation as well. So just move them onto that list and carry on with that. So yeah, we have actually created some really cool resources around automation in our playbook. So I'm going to post the links in the chat. These actually need a sign up to get access to them. But if you sign up to one, you'll get access to all the locked stuff in our playbook. So the playbook is like the culmination of a decade of working with accountants and bookkeepers, and we're giving away a huge amount of content in there. Some of it you need to kind of sign up for, but once you've signed up once, you'll get access to all that locked stuff forever. So we've got actually got 3 email sequences that you can use in automation to turn more subscribers into leads and clients. So check those out, because you can add those directly into your automation platform. And we've also got an ebook on marketing automation for accountants. All right, final email type that I think you should be sending are email blasts, which is basically kind of what has become the name for your one-off emails, which are often used for selling, but not always. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And, you know, what you're trying to do here is, I guess you've got your list of your prospects and your clients, and you want to put some offers in front of them. You want to kind of get them to take action. Now, the better you segment your list, we've talked about this already, the better results are going to be. So remember that thing I said, average email to a highly targeted list, much better than an awesome email to an untargeted list. So three ways you might do that at the engagement stage, right? So you've got these leads and prospects that you may be sending newsletters to. They've maybe consumed some of your content. We might call those warm leads. You know, they're not like completely cold, and they're interested in your stuff, just not made any kind of noises about engaging you right now. So what could you use an email blast for at this stage? Well, maybe you run an event or a webinar like we're doing here, right? You could run a webinar for, it could be like an industry focused thing, and you invite those people along. How are you going to do that? Send them an email. So you've got their email address, send them an email. Ideal way to keep people moving down that sales funnel or your marketing funnel and trying to convert them into being a client. Maybe you could send them a high value piece of content that you've created. So maybe you've written an ebook or something like that. You're demonstrating that expert knowledge. Again, that's helping people move down the funnel. Now, I would also say that might sound counterintuitive, but selling to people can also be engaging. And what I mean by that is, if someone has been interested enough to come to your website or your social media, engage with your content, give you your email address, first of all, it shows that they're interested in something about you. But you shouldn't be making it hard for them to buy from you. I'll give you an example. So HubSpot, you've probably heard of HubSpot, really well-known marketing and sales platform. And they produce a lot of really good content. And I was consuming a lot of this content maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. didn't know what HubSpot did, went to their website to try and check them out. And, they were happy to give me more ebooks and all this kind of stuff, but it was really hard to find information about their pricing, what they did. And it was kind of like annoying to me that, I want to buy off you guys. I think your content's awesome, but make it easy for me so I can book a demo or whatever. It's changed a lot now, but, I found that really weird. And it made me think sometimes making selling to people is almost like a courtesy, because if they're interested in what you do, don't make that hard for them. So if you truly believe you can help business owners, whether that's prospects and leads or your clients, and sending them the occasional promotional email, I actually think that is a really engaging thing to do. Doesn't mean they're necessarily going to engage with it then, but at least they know exactly what you do, and you're there for when they might need it. So with clients, I think that works as well. We're mainly talking about that engagement stage now, but in terms of retention, I think that, you should be looking to upsell to your clients as much as you can. The happiest clients are the most engaged clients, right? And the ones that you help the most, they're the stickiest clients. That is so important. So, you should be trying to sell more stuff to them. And email is such an easy way to do that. So I'll going to have a link in the chat here for 6 email templates for promoting your services. I want to make this really easy for you. So you've got some templates for all the things I'm talking about. And there's some different email templates. So feel free to steal those, tweak them, use them in your email software. You get those scheduled and get those out to clients, because I'm pretty sure your clients won't know about all the ways that you can help them. And just like I talked about, adding value to leads and prospects, do that with clients too. Maybe you're running events, webinars for clients, things like that. Email is obviously a really fast and effective way to get in front of them. So I'm happy to stick around and take questions in just a minute, but to wrap things up, for me, email is engagement, right? Like, email is a key engagement tool. People talk about sometimes, like, I don't want to spam my clients, I don't want to spam people, but well, don't do that, right? You don't have to do that with email. There's lots of examples of bad email, but email done well is really engaging. You just have to be sending the right stuff to the right people. Like I said at the start, email's been around forever. It's as old as me, which is pretty old, and it's here to stay. And it's still the highest performing type of digital marketing for most firms. If you look at the ROI of email compared to social, compared to search, it's vastly higher. And particularly for accounting firms, I think it's a really effective tactic. Anthea mentioned it at the start. You can see it on screen. We've got this really cool marketing assessment that you can take. It only takes a couple of minutes, and it will give you some really specific help on the areas which you identify. And then that will also link off to our playbook, which we've been sending you a few links to here. I'm really proud of that. It follows the stages of our leads to loyalty framework, from planning, attraction, and engagement, and then conversion and retention. So all the stuff we're talking about today, you'll see that in the playbook, and we're giving away like a load of our content in there. Our head of content, Heidi, said to me, why are we giving away all this stuff? Are we not giving away too much? And honestly, I just want to help you do marketing better. I think it's awesome that we're doing that. So check out that playbook, because I'm really proud of that. We just launched it, and there's some awesome stuff in there.
Thanks, Matt. We've just got some questions that come through. So if there's any others in the next few minutes, please send them through as well. Hillary's just asking, is it more important to email to existing clients or to leads?
Hey, Hillary, how are you doing? I think it is equally important. I wouldn't put a preference on one or the other, but I would say that, if you have existing clients, that's the fastest. it's the easiest thing you could do, right? Like, so it's like marketing 101, that it's much easier to sell to an existing client than it is to a new lead. So if you want to get a result this week, like, what can you send to clients that, just going back to my point I've just been talking about, what could you send to them to say, hey, did you know we can also help you with this? So you could make money this week on something like that. Whereas unless you've got a really good list of leads that's targeted and, somewhat warm, that's going to be a bit longer, right? And even if something happens, like you send out the email and people respond, you're still probably going to have to meet them again, send that proposal, talk to them a bit more, so that's, I don't know, I always say in B2B, business to business, stuff always takes 3 to 6 months, right? But the one thing that would be sending something to your clients. So I guess, I think they're equally important to be doing both those things all of the time. But if you want to make a business result this month, this week, then clients is the place to start.
Kind of linked to that as well, I've just been thinking of questions that I often get when chatting to accountants myself, and particularly for those accountants that aren't doing any email marketing at the moment, but kind of want to start maybe a newsletter or, some of the other types you've mentioned. I often get asked just sort of how to start, and particularly, to suddenly start emailing your clients out of nowhere when you haven't done that before. Do you have any tips in that regard? Is there any sort of suggestions on getting started with email marketing for the first time?
Yeah, just start. That's my tip. Just start, right? We just did a session on social media with Trent McLaren, and he was talking about how to get started with social. Same advice: get in there, make a few mistakes. No one cares. Write a good email, send it to them, right? Like, and just keep sending. Jordan, who helps us with marketing, has a really good phrase, which is like the compounding effect of marketing. And, just like, you hear Warren Buffett talking about, compounding interest, and it's like, it's that incremental thing over time builds. I'd say from a email perspective, it's the same thing. You're not going to get some big result off like, week 1 of your email newsletter or month 1 or whatever, or your first email blast. I mean, maybe you get lucky and you do. It's actually about just compounding that effect of sending it, people start to like it and over time expect it, enjoy it. So I think that, get started. Doesn't matter if you tweak it, doesn't matter if it's not amazing, but there's a real power in taking action.
And I also think, like, particularly if it's a client newsletter, you can address that this is the first edition and what you intend it to be and how you hope it to help or something like that. If that's more what you're worried about, let them know. They can give you feedback or suggestions. Probably kind of links into another question we've got from Julian as well, which he says he's found the newsletter to be the most effective marketing tool aside from referrals, but his challenge has been what to write in the newsletter, and they prefer more bespoke content. He finds it more engaging. So he's just asking you, how can we find topics that are relevant and engaging?
Yeah, good question. And one, it's not even actually just limited to email marketing, but one thing that can get you a long way is think of all the questions that your clients regularly ask you, right? So there'll always be 10 questions you get asked all the time, and write those down. And each of those is a newsletter, right? It's actually probably about 10 newsletters because you can probably nuance all of those things a little bit. But, I don't know. A lot of accountants and bookkeepers are like, can I claim that on expenses or something like that, right? So that's one way to find the topics. If you write those, what I would then be doing is then put them as blogs on your site. Maybe put an FAQs page, so you're repurposing that content. No problem with repeating that stuff as well. It's actually a good thing. And then when you come to write your newsletter, you can pull that in from your blog or copy and paste it in, or just write a little snippet and be, hey, go and read this on our blog. And then just repeat those every so often, right? Because what do we say our open rate is? 38%. So that means that, roughly 2/3 of people don't open emails at any one time. So if you send them something that you think they've already seen, they probably haven't seen it, right? It's like a 1 there's a 2 in 3 chance that they haven't seen it. Send it again. So I think that some version of what do your clients always ask, or ask them what they want you to write about, probably gets you going for quite a long time, because usually each question a client asks can probably break down into some more kind of nuanced answers or versions of answering them.
Just got one from Shannon, who's based in Canada, where they have certain rules around anti-spam laws and that sort of stuff. Would she be breaking the rules to send a opt into my emails email, if that makes sense? So how would you get people on the list?
That's a really good question, actually. And, if you're not in Canada, that is actually like a re-engagement email. You might talk about that, where, you might have some people who had gone a little bit cold or whatever. I actually don't know on that, Shannon, but I would expect that if you didn't have their opt-in in the first place, you shouldn't do it, right? Like, I don't know. It would depend, right? If it's your clients, that's different, because you have a business relationship with them. So you've got like an inferred opt-in there, it's like a legitimate. If it was just some prospects who, it would depend, right? I can't give you, I don't want to sort of get you into trouble with the law, but I would say, like, you can't really send to people you haven't got permission. If it's your clients, there is inferred permission there, because you obviously have to talk to them about stuff anyway.
Yeah, I think there's tools to do that as well, like lead magnets, which is probably a whole nother webinar, but there's ways and means to try and attract people to give you their contact details and opt in, which is going to be way better. I think we are up to time now, so we have to wrap up and move on to the remaining sessions of the bootcamp. I'm just going to launch a poll. If you would like someone from Bizink to reach out to you next week about email marketing